Hi, I'm Daniel. I'm a sleep physician, and if you have insomnia, this channel is for you. Kim is not feeling particularly stressed when she goes to bed, but still, just as she's about to fall asleep, she jolts awake. We're going to talk about this symptom and Kim's situation overall and strategies for how to get better sleep when you're in the early stages of trying cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia. Super nice having you back here. Thank you for tuning in. And if you're new to the channel, very welcome to you. And before I go any further here, as always, nothing here is a medical advice to anyone, including you, Kim, but just general thoughts and comments that I hope will be helpful. And with that said, let's jump right in through this email I got from Kim. And by the way, this is Kim from episode 125. And just as a quick recap, if you haven't tuned in there, Kim was emailing me at that time, having not slept for I think 2 or 3 days. And I was kind of hopeful that she would just then kind of crash sleep for a long stretch of time and then kind of get into a better pattern. Didn't happen, and that really taught me you really always have to be very cautious when it comes to insomnia. It's often harder to address than you think. Now, fast forward till 22 hours ago, so a day ago, in this time frame from 2 weeks ago until now, Kim has tried to restrict her time in bed. She's also been prescribed diazepam, which she's taken I think twice, and we'll get more into this, but that's just a little quick recap. So let's read here. So 22 hours ago, Kim is writing to me that the 1 to 3 hours of light sleep I get just doesn't seem to cut it, but I know I'm still early in recovery. I caved and took half of a diazepam last night in desperation to have a productive day today, and I slept for 6 solid hours. And she then goes on to say she kind of feels sorry she did, she shouldn't have, etc. But I think, the main thing with the medications are, there are 2 things that I really want to point out. One is that this kind of experience when you have trouble sleeping and then you finally say, let me try to take half an Ambien, half a diazepam, or some Benadryl, or whatever it is, and then you sleep well, that can make you feel that it is the medication that made you sleep, which is a very dangerous assumption. Rather, it is that you still have some tension, you still have some sleep-related anxiety, and medications can remove that, and then indirectly you sleep. And it's a big distinction, because you always have to know that it is your own body that is producing that sleep, but medications can remove some tension. And so that's just kind of one insight, because you cannot, whatever happens, never lose sleep confidence. Never lose that confidence. It's your own body that produces sleep, even if you take a medication. Always remember that. And the second thing was, medications can be quote unquote effective if they're taken intermittently. If you, Kim, or anybody else would take a diazepam, no matter what dosage, every single night, pretty quickly, they lose their effectiveness. And so just to keep that in mind, because you may be tempted to think, what if I took a medication every night? Then I may be able to sleep good every night. That is extremely rarely the case. I do see patients that have taken, let's say, diazepam or trazodone or something like that for years, and they feel they're sleeping good. Well, I'm, 99.99% sure that it's not the medication that is, I'm 100% sure that's not the medication that's making them sleep, but I also believe that the effect that they're feeling is really just placebo. Okay, so just a few comments on that. Now, going on, continuing this email from Kim, my main improvements are, number 1, no more hyperarousal when I go to bed. Number 2, no more panicking when I get to bed. And 3, less struggling with sleep-related thoughts. But here's the thing, struggling. I know I start falling asleep when my head hits the pillow, and therefore there is a sleep drive, and it appears on a regular schedule. I feel totally relaxed. I feel myself losing consciousness and starting to see spots and drifting away. But then suddenly, I become acutely aware of the fact that I'm falling asleep, and that wakes me up. So I think the important point here to make is that, you're not feeling hyper-aroused, you're not feeling stressed. That's good. That is an improvement. But there's still some of this thinking about what if I don't fall asleep? There's some kind of conscious thoughts about as you're falling asleep, you're somehow maybe subconsciously wondering, will I fall asleep? How much will I sleep? What if I don't fall asleep again? What can I do? Etc. and that's what causes this like jolts you awake. Not uncommon, and quite, quite honestly, Kim here, I'm not that surprised, and I'm not that worried about it. I think it would just kind of like sticking to what you have been doing, you will do better. And I want to remind you, Kim, and everybody else that, if I go back, I went back here looking at an email from 3 days ago where you, Kim, said, I'm now sleeping every night, but probably only for 4 to 5 hours of fragmented sleep. I don't think I'm hitting deep sleep. So, there has been some, green sprouts, some encouraging signs here. And it's really important when you have a bad night, think about like there has been some improvement. There has been some hopeful signs, and like really play that up. And jumping now to the most recent email from Kim, she's asking like, should I maybe restrict my time in bed? She's now spending about 6 hours in bed, and should I go down to 5 hours and really go full throttle, as she describes it, bedtime restriction, sleep restriction? I think, looking through, I went back to looking at our entire email conversation, and I realized, yeah, it was pretty much exactly 2 weeks ago that you first emailed me, Kim. And in kind of with the perspective of like treating insomnia, 2 weeks is typically a time frame where you see some type of like encouraging signs, and you have some of those, like you're maybe a little bit less stressed, less hyperarousal, and there seems to have been some couple nights where you slept 4 or 5 hours. It's not great, not fantastic by any means, but there are some hopeful signs, which makes me feel like you could go down to 5 hours, but you could also just probably stick to 6 hours and just keep doing what you're doing. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks from now, you're like seeing more and more encouraging signs, and you're along the way of doing better and better. I hope this was helpful to you, Kim. I felt I maybe didn't deliver any profound insights here, but I overall take here's like, I think there's some hopeful things going on, and I think you'll be doing better and better. Please, as always, email me again with follow-up comments, questions, anything. And for anyone else that has any sleep-related questions, do email me at daniel@insomniainsight.co. And I hope to have you all back here very soon. Bye-bye.